capitalism. All of the gains in automation, it goes to the owner class. All you have to do is have everyone be an owner, and now suddenly any gain in automation is a gain for everybody. If you grow just one thing, it may not grow as well as if it grows with another thing. A good example of that is called the Three Sisters method of farming.
There is definitely multi apartment buildings or multi-families that do passive design.
$100 million that they gave to Joe Rogan that they would kind of be out if they breach contract. Is that a bigger number? Or is 2 billion a bigger number?
I don't know, Zach.
It's a tough one. I
It's
know.
really hard.
And maybe comparing numbers is not Jeremy's strong suit. Gotta go kill a Jenny.
I still don't think you should kill her. I don't think it's a good idea.
It's a ghost, dude. Welcome back, everybody, to Bread Theory. So tonight joining me is my lovely wife, Amanda. How you doing, Amanda?
Cold. How are you?
Yeah, we haven't quite figured out the optimum hash to put our thermostat on. It's like we put it at 5 degrees and it like boils us alive, and where it's at right now, it slowly drains the life force from our body. So it's a difficult, first world problems.
I just drag my blanket around like Linus.
I mean, that's not a bad idea. Just heat the person rather than the space. It's actually the eco-friendly option. So way to go.
I should get a Snuggie.
You should get a Snuggie. Is that something you would want for Christmas too?
If it comes in black.
I'm absolutely positive by now they made a goth Snuggie. What if it has like ruffles and stuff and like?
Whoa.
What if it's like satin textured? Or...
I don't know.
Not velvet.
Yeah, I like velvet.
Okay, velvet's the way to go. Anything on your mind before we get into tonight's entertainment?
Lots of things.
Well, let's hear it. You want to start talking about our ex landlords, our past landlords?
Yeah. So, despite 2 phone calls, 2 emails to try to schedule a final walkthrough, and got no response, got an email today in response to mine that my message would be forwarded on to someone I've never heard of.
Old pass the buck. Because they had put charges into our old app. Like, we don't even use the app anymore. It's for the old
I mean, I was
company.
keeping it until that check
She,
came.
yeah, she was keeping tabs on it, and all of a sudden this $500 to clean the kitchen that they were
No,
trying to charge us?
$100 to clean the kitchen
$100 to clean the
and
kitchen.
$50 to remove a mattress.
Yeah. We have pictures of our completely empty apartment on the day that we finally moved the
It
last
was
thing out.
a 1-bedroom, and we moved into a 1-bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And
So, I mean,
this is an old mattress, like not that old, but it's an older mattress. Like, so I'd love them to take a photo of the mattress that I threw away.
yeah, no, they don't have any. They wouldn't have any photos
And
of any
then we'll
mattress.
take some
They-
DNA samples to prove that I was the one that did it, or Zach was the one that did it.
Right, but they don't have. There's no mattress. What I think happened is either they found a mattress at the dumpster and it's like, oh, they moved out. It must have been them, or they made it up, or they sent the charges to the wrong apartment because they can't seem to keep their stuff straight. And we would get repair people showing up to our unit. They were supposed to be in entirely different buildings, like the same unit, but at a totally different building in a different part of town. They're a disorganized mess. They're a bunch of slumlords.
And
So-
not to mention the 2 weeks it took for the dishwasher repair. There's water standing in the
Oh, yeah.
dishwasher.
That was lovely.
I
Last 2
filled
weeks
out a
that we were
ticket
there.
to have it repaired. And the only reason someone, I think, finally came out is because they did a showing and there was a smell.
Yep. Yeah. And that's been the pattern. They only act when it makes them look bad, or they're afraid there's going to be permanent damage to their unit. If it's just something that we want done, like the heat that never worked right in that apartment, we said like when we first moved in, we're like, hey, this heat is coming on like all the time. Like, it doesn't matter what we set it to, the heat's always just blasting. It's like baseboard heat. And their response was, hey, you should change the batteries in your thermostat. Our thermostat was wired into the wall, and we told them this, and then that was the
That was the end.
that was the end of it. They never came out. They never fixed it. They blasted heat to the point where we had to keep windows open in the middle of winter. This place was a dump.
And it was the top floor, which I would expect to be a little bit hotter because heat rises. But we're also in the top floor here. And
Yeah, it's not nearly as bad.
it's
But
not.
also the heat was always blasting. Like if the boiler was on in the building, that heat was just full blast.
Yeah,
So
there was no middle.
I just noticed that my hat kind of blends into the wall. It's almost like a gray screen effect. Maybe I should pick a different hat to wear when I stream. Anyway,
Maybe.
ADD brain going off.
You want to ride bikes?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. Anyway, the new place we're in is much better. So, we had an issue with the garbage disposal when we moved in, and like that, within a couple days, they came and fixed
No,
it
it was
right away.
literally the next day. I
Next
was
day?
given
There you
like
go.
3 windows of time.
Yeah, they
like,
actually gave us
let
windows
us
when
know
they would
what
show
works
up,
for you.
and
And the guy brought like a pad of paper because he was gonna
Yeah.
leave me notes had I not been here, but I was homesick that day, and
right, yeah, our last place never once told us when they were going to be in the unit. Never gave us a note saying, "Hey, we've been in your unit. Here's what we did." They would just come in like we had mice one time. They just chucked rat poison everywhere. Didn't tell us.
Yeah.
We were still finding it on the day we were moving out
oh yeah, I still got
underneath places.
piles and in the cabinets where I keep my pans, and
Yeah, yeah. It didn't matter. That was their solution.
then they finally nailed down some plywood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think they nailed it. I think they might have glued it.
I believe you're right. I think they glued it because they just sprayed foam insulation underneath the baseboard heater all the way along too. Yeah,
Yep.
we probably shouldn't say the name of the place in case they decide that that's actionable to sue us for what is it? Is it libel spoken and slander written? I don't remember which is which. Anyway, we don't want them to sue us, but they're a pretty bad place. If you want to message us privately, if you're thinking of renting in the St. Paul area, we'll certainly tell you what companies to avoid. We've had some really bad luck. So hopefully our luck is changing because this place seems a lot better.
They're very nice. And like, I mean, I think just having the property manager on site, like I can go downstairs any day and knock on the door. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, right.
I'm
that
having
does
trouble
make a
with
big
blah,
difference.
blah, blah. Like,
That does make a difference. So what else is on your mind?
still a little bit of customer service frustration.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna sound incredibly petty, but I had gone to a fancy salon to buy some shampoo conditioner.
The dumbest strip mall I've ever seen, by the way. They wanted to pretend like it was like a Main Street sort of a deal, but they put like minimal effort in. So like you come in, it's set up like a strip mall basically. So you come in this promenade, and there's like a boulevard, and like all the fronts of the shops are right along the street and stuff like that, as though it were a main street. But there's no place to park out there. This is, I mean, there's a few houses nearby, but it's not as though it's near some huge center of population
Right.
where they can rely on just foot traffic and stuff like that. This is a place you're going to drive to because there's a huge parking lot right behind each of the shops. But on the back side, there's no entrance. It's only a service door. So you have to get out of your car in the parking lot, walk all the way around the strip mall to the front, and come in the front. Like minimal thought put into this place.
Right.
But continue with your story.
Yeah, so got in, lady asked me if she could help me, and I explained to her the situation and asked if she could give me any recommendations, and she helped me for 2 seconds until someone else walked in the door, and she just turned around and started talking to this other woman and helping this other woman, and I was like, all right, whatever, I guess I'm on my own. So I picked out some product, went up to the register, and like I feel like it's pretty standard issue to ask for like email and whatnot, like for coupons.
Ask for.
Right. Well, she insisted, like, name, first and last, phone number, email, address. And I was like, whoa, what do you need my address
Emergency
for?
contact,
Like,
blood type, next of kin.
like, I was like, I'm not having anything shipped to me. I'm buying everything I want here right now. I'm not giving you my address. And she's like, well, I need it. And I was like, well, you just lost your sale. And I handed her the product, and I turned around and walked out.
Yep.
And there's another lady, like, working on a client and was like, oh my God, please don't leave. Please don't leave. And I was like, no, I I don't need to give you all my personal information to make a purchase. And you just lost like a pretty sizable sale. So, like, congratulate yourself.
Yeah, way to go.
But then, like, positive side of this coin, we had to stop and get gas on our way back home. And we live near Bobby and Steve's now. And I feel like that's going to be a gas station we use a lot. So that's fine. And they were like, hey, you know, if you want, we have a free rewards program. You can sign up for it. It's just your phone number and you get points for free stuff if you want.
Yeah. No pressure.
No pressure.
Just like putting it out there.
Yeah.
Like that's understandable.
So of course I was like, well, sure, it's gas. It's something that I have to buy, and it's something that I have to buy at least once a week. So it sounds like we got ourselves a deal here.
Yeah, I don't think Bobby and Steve are going to be sending us texts every day.
No, but it was
Oh,
just
come check out the gas and stuff. But yeah, I mean, obviously what I'm saying is obviously the other place, the salon, wanted all this information so they can send us mailers and send us emails and send us
Right.
text alerts and like all this stuff. Just totally bombard us with advertising.
But the guy was like, my name's Lou, and you can come in anytime you want. And if you can't find what you need, you let me know. It's like,
Thanks, Lou.
wow, like, that's customer service. Like, again, I feel like I sound like an entitled snob. I just,
No, I can imagine that would be off-putting.
it was shampoo and conditioner.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
crazy.
Let us hound you forever, or you
Yeah.
don't get your shampoo.
So I guess I'm not going to buy anything, and you don't get to cry about it.
Yeah.
How
Well,
about that?
I mean, what do they care? They're just employees anyway, so it's not like it matters to them. I doubt they're on commission.
I mean, I'd be a little more mindful, I guess. Like, just in that, like, I would want to make a good connection with my customers so they'd come back. But whatever.
I agree. So yeah, a few frustrations. Nothing too major though.
Yeah.
We took a nice walk in our local nature center today. It's been a while since we've gotten back into that routine, so I'm happy to settle back into that.
They have horses.
Yeah, they got horses. They got goats, but the goats were inside today.
They're sleeping.
Yeah. Well,
They're sleeping, Zach.
okay, they're sleeping. I think they have pigs there too,
Yeah.
and chickens, but we didn't see. We only saw the horses.
Yeah.
They're very interested in us, but they didn't feel like coming up to say hi or anything.
They were eating.
They were eating. It was hay time. But it was fun. Nice to get a winter walk in. Well, the weather's a little bit warmer here.
And I surprised had functional poles for winter walking because I had bought a set of collapsible poles. They had like capped ends, and I didn't think to take the caps off, but Zach's smarter than I am, and he uncapped them and found
Well, I had just seen them
spikes.
before because I think the cap had fallen off for some reason. Like, oh, you got a spike under there. And it's the same with my pole too. I have a walking stick that you can just remove the little rubber nub on the end.
They're really good though.
Yeah.
Like it had a like silver thing, but there was like a raised star, so it was like really gonna.
It's gonna push in there and give you a lot of surface area.
Yeah.
All right. So tonight, just thought we'd do a casual stream. I didn't really have a whole lot planned, but I was thinking maybe y'all in the audience, if you so feel like it. I got 3 different videos I was thinking about. They're pretty different, so it kind of depends on what you're into. So I'll post links to each one. We'll just do 1, 2, and 3, so you can put 1s, 2s, or 3s in chat.
One is for this first one coming through
Yeah, so one
about
is
country music.
it's a PragerU, how country music got woke.
Right.
So here's number 1. Hold on, let me type that out as I put it in.
There's a lot of crying about.
Oh, the wokeness, which I can tell you now is going to be ill-defined. Like they're going to not have a good definition. It's basically just the catch-all for whatever we don't like. So 1.
You're different.
So if you want this one, hit 1. The second one is called It's by Pop Culture Detective. Pretty great channel. You should check them out. It's called The Fantastic Masculinity of Newt Scamander. He's been one of my favorite characters in the entire, I guess you call it Potter universe.
Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
World.
The magical world. What's its face? Though I was really disappointed with the last movie. It was just a big nothing. So anyway, here's number 2. Take a look at that. Thanks. So that's your second choice. And then the third choice is called The Modern Moloch. It is a 99% invisible podcast episode. One of my favorite ones of theirs. Just one of those ones I like to keep in my back pocket for a rainy day, such as today. And this is about how automakers systematically took over the streets of big American cities. How it used to be places for pedestrians, where cars were guests, and they managed to get that flipped completely. And there's a big ad campaign behind it. So that should be a fun one to take a look at. Also includes some good ad reads from classic advertisements.
Classic advertisements.
Yeah. They do it in this accent too. I seriously doubt it was the original radio read, because I'm guessing it's from, I think it's from like the 1920s, so I don't know if they would keep recordings. Oh, you want to try my caramel apple pop? That was the other thing we did this weekend. We went to our favorite craft soda place. Yeah, it was pretty good, huh?
That's excellent.
We got some of their last Halloween pops.
And they do Halloween cans, guys.
Yeah, it's called Northern Soda or Northern Brewer? It's Northern Soda, right?
Northern Soda.
Northern Soda. Anyway, lots of fun. Anyway, so the last one, it includes some ad reads that are pretty hilarious. I won't spoil it.
I want to see the pantaloon punch.
Yeah, that's
Can't.
right. Yeah, they told us this story about the guy that does their artwork for their cans, who is from
Puerto Rico.
No, I think it was Brazil. Anyway, it was a country where English is not the first language, and he said he wanted a design for pontoon punch.
Which is
For those of you that may not know, pontoon being a reference to pontoon boat. It's just like a big flat barge type thing that you set on top of
touristy
two
thing.
pontoons, and you just cruise around the lake. It makes a nice diving platform. So anyway, so the guy didn't know what pontoons were, didn't know that English word, so he made a design for pantaloon punch. So there's pants all over the place, which I would love to see too.
I think he should have kept it.
I think you should just call it pantaloon punch. Why not? That'd be fun. Anyway.
It's a delicious soda though. Like it's like spicy and fruity. It's really nice.
So any thoughts there on what you want to see?
Number 2.
You want to go with number 2?
Yeah, because I've been
It's
crabby
Commander.
all day and I want something nice.
Cool. All right. Well, since we're not getting a lot of votes in, we'll just start with that. We probably have time for all of them. None of them is a very long video.
No, I was not cranky on the walk. But then I got cranky after.
Well, that was circumstantial. That was not due to anything else. Okay, so Pop Culture Detective. Go check out their channel there on YouTube. Fantastic Masculinity of Newt Scamander. Let's hear it. So probably gonna have to talk over this music just because of TOS.
As a cultural critic, I watch a lot of movies, and I'm always on the lookout for positive Hollywood representations of masculinity. I usually walk out of the theater disappointed, but occasionally the stars will align and I'll find myself pleasantly surprised. And that's how I felt after seeing Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Newt
He's-
Scamander,
That other gentleman is
protagonist
also a
of this
very
Harry
nice
Potter
man,
spin-off,
though.
I agree.
is an
Yeah, very gentle
unconventional
dude.
male hero. The kind of character typically relegated to sidekick status. He performs a refreshingly atypical form of masculinity, especially for the lead in a fantasy adventure story. His is a quiet, vulnerable, yet confident form of manhood.
I would agree.
I like that you
Newt's
moved your
character
soda
is
away from
largely
me.
defined by his
It's hard for me
extraordinary
to
ability
grab it over
to
there.
connect with magical creatures, and by his relative inability to connect with other human beings. Newt is a magizoologist. Essentially, he's an expert in the care of magical creatures. His life work, his passion, is studying, nurturing, and protecting these fantastic beasts.
They came up with some cool
Then
beasts for
writing
this too.
textbooks in an effort to foster understanding and compassion for their plight.
They're the last breeding pair in existence. If I hadn't managed to rescue them, that could have been the end of Grapthorns forever.
I should mention that this is not a Dr. Dolittle situation. Newt's bond with and affinity for animals is not supernatural in nature, even though that wouldn't be out of place in this universe.
Right enough.
Instead, he simply pays attention to them and their needs when others don't.
He had a cold. He needed some body warmth.
This is also not a animal good, human bad story. Even though he's painfully shy and socially awkward, Newt's empathetic worldview extends to people, especially to those discriminated against.
Yeah, I do like that point too, because so often you'll hear the opinion of like, oh, I prefer dogs to people, and I prefer animals to people, stuff like that. People suck. Animals are the only true innocents, stuff like that, and I really don't like that point of view. I think, why throw all of humanity under the bus just because you've had some negative experiences?
But I think that's pretty commonplace.
Yeah.
Not saying it's okay. I'm just saying
Right.
that's
But
the
yeah,
norm.
your empathy should extend to
Everyone.
every living thing. Maybe even some non-living things. You could care very much about things like architecture, art, or stuff like that too, or just natural beauty, even if it's inorganic.
Or marginalized, as evidenced by his disgust at the way American wizards
Like rocks.
treat non-magical people.
Like who?
Like rocks.
Yeah, like rocks. You could like big rocks. You could feel for them, not want them to be destroyed or moved or whatever.
Sir Scamander, do you know anything about the wizarding community in America?
I do know a few things, actually. I know that you have rather backwards laws about relations with non-magic people.
Yep,
That
that's
you're not meant to
that's
befriend
true.
them, that you can't marry them, which seems...
So the Fantastic Beasts, that was based on J.K. Rowling's work. It was not a one-to-one adaptation, right?
I mean, it's her writing it.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's-
I know she wrote the books,
and
but
it's-
it's not like
It's supposed to be set pre-Harry Potter.
sure, but like I'm saying, the movie makers took some artistic license, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine J.K. Rowling putting that line in there. You have backwards laws about
Yeah.
what do you say, non-magical people.
Yeah.
Wizarding community in America?
I do know a few things, actually.
Well, non-magic people. Yeah, okay. I guess that could be. I was thinking it was the other magical races that.
But that was also a
talking about.
problem in Harry Potter as well, because Hermione used to get picked
Yeah,
on all the time.
except for she was put in the place of just basically, oh, what would be the modern way of saying it? Like an SJW, a woke scold. I'm better than you because I have higher morals, sort of thing. When really the world's just more complicated, so you can't get caught up in these things, such as enslaving entire races of sentient beings and that sort of thing. So, because it was never resolved, like
Right.
I think what Dumbledore said that one of the house elves could pull on his nose and call him a woolly-headed ninny or something like that. And that was like the thing. But they still, by and large, remain slaves. And the goblins were viewed with all kinds of suspicion. The goblins, the very thinly veiled stand-in for the Jews. And then the centaurs looked at best with reverence of the noble savage. They basically represented North American natives, or perhaps pagans from pre-Christianity in the UK. So yeah, not great stuff.
Right.
I know that you have rather backwards laws about relations with non-magic people. That you're not meant to befriend them, that you can't marry them, which seems mildly absurd to me.
Who's gonna marry him?
That's nice.
He's strongly opposed to segregation, discriminatory laws, capital punishment, and other violence committed in the name of justice. Newt's truly special gift is not his magic, it's his empathy.
Absolutely true.
All right, I'm coming. I'm coming. Mum.
And I like too that he's never ashamed about it. He's always very forward with the way he feels, and he's not afraid to tell people, even if it makes them uncomfortable or offended, that, he believes what he believes. I think that's pretty cool.
Mum's here. Mum's here. Oh, hello.
This type of quiet, sensitive masculinity is so out of the ordinary for a leading man that I wasn't terribly surprised to see a number of movie reviewers turned off by his character. The New York Post said that Newt was not a very engaging lead. MTV said he lacked depth, soul, and a coherent
In search of a
personality.
coherent personality.
Village
What
Voice
the
went
hell?
so far as to say he seemed physically ill much of the time.
Wow.
Slate felt that he was a little boring. Both Slate and the New Republic lamented that the character tamped down Eddie Redmayne's charisma. The New Republic also expressed
I felt the complete opposite. I felt he was the most charismatic and interesting character in that entire series. Really, the only reason that I kept going to see the movies afterward, after that first one, was for him. Like, Johnny Depp playing Grindelwald. He had a performance. It was classic Depp, but he did not leap out at you the way that Redmayne's character did.
And I'm not gonna. Ezra Miller's kind of a piece, but that character also really stood out.
He's
in
his personal life. You're saying he's
Yes.
a piece? Oh, I had no idea.
But I also really liked Eddie Redmayne. Like, there's nothing. I feel like society really pushes this, like, men. Obviously, I'm a woman, so I don't see the world through the same lens as you. But, like, men have to be super masculine and super butch and, cussing and swearing, chain smoking, drinking, son of a bitch
For sure.
kind of guys. And I've always hated that.
I hate that too. And like if you're a man, you solve all of your problems with your fists. And Redmayne's character, Newt Scamander, very often chose like diversion, subterfuge, sneaky ways of getting around problems rather than just coming in wands ablazing. In fact, I don't know that I don't know if he raised his wand against anyone that entire series that I can think of.
I don't know.
It may have happened. But
Nothing that stands out
right.
at the moment.
You don't think of him as like a
He's not that kind.
Shoot first, ask questions later sort of dude.
This is just a funny thing, I guess I think about our relationship, at least.
Mhm.
Is you're very kind and empathetic and not the first one to start a fight. But I will.
Well,
And
because-
not even like a fist fight. It's just more of me verbally
confrontation.
shooting back. I will confront people about.
right. You
like,
but it's coming from a place of like you really hate injustice, and when you feel like you're getting a raw deal, you're not afraid to voice that, even if it ruffles feathers and
Right.
makes prissy little white ladies turn up their nose at you.
Right. And I often get told, "Oh, you're not very feminine for a woman. You're not very feminine for a woman."
It's so ridiculous. You have a very feminine style, like you do your makeup all the time in a feminine way. You hold yourself in a feminine way. Like I don't know what would be unfeminine about you.
Too assertive.
Oh, okay.
We
That's the thing.
We
it's,
don't
it's
like
the,
that.
the bossy label that gets put on you.
Or just like I don't like pink and I don't wear like florals.
Oh,
and
that's silly.
it is silly because it's not like
You still wear nice fashions.
this is not the measure of what it means to be a girl.
Yeah. And you can be a guy and like pink too. It's just a color.
Right.
Just a color. In fact, it's just light red. We just decided to put an extra little label on it.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, my favorite color is red. Yeah, okay. Pink is a shade of red.
shock at his leading man status, saying that he's so good-hearted, simple, and nondescript that it's sort of crazy he's going to be the centerpiece of a 5-film franchise.
That's so ridiculous.
I was disappointed, but as I said, not surprised to see this kind of reaction. We, as movie-going audiences, have been conditioned to expect a certain type of masculine performance from male characters in sci-fi or fantasy films. We expect leading men who are, or learn to be, autonomous, brazen, and...
See, he's showing Thor here, but even within the MCU, it was the Thor: The Dark World. The entire plot revolved around him coming to terms with using soft power rather than being brash and attacking things head on. He had to learn to control himself. That was the entire point. And you can see his character arc where he becomes a much more empathetic and caring person instead of just a higher than thou sort of god. Like, he actually gains a lot of empathy for mortal people.
I feel like that's a theme throughout MCU though, because like look at Hulk
Yeah,
and
Hulk too.
She-Hulk.
Both
You
had
have
to
this
learn to control.
gross amount of power, and you have to learn to contain it. You can't
Yeah, absolutely. So
indulge, or like
Yeah.
Tony Stark. I think that's like your perpetual.
now Stark more fits the mold of the typical male protagonist because
Yeah.
even though you can tell that he does care and he will sacrifice himself for others, it's the bravado and
There's usually a joke made about it
right.
after,
Can never be emotionally vulnerable. Always have to be like,
without commentary.
there's a piece of shard of metal clawing its way into my heart, and it's a wonder I'm so put together, but I am, so I'm better than everybody, sort of thing. So yeah, I think that was a bad example, but I get what he's saying.
physically strong. Or at least men who are witty, boisterous, and charismatic. Preferably,
You just don't like him as a person, though. Like, he is a good actor. Chris Pratt is a good actor. I don't think there's any other way to say it. I believe that he plays his roles very well. And when he's playing a role, he does bring a lot of heart to it. He just happens to believe in a really screwed up Christian cult. It's like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, good actor. Terrible as a human being. Manipulative and destructive and egotistical and all of that. So
all of the above. It's practically required for male heroes to hide their vulnerability.
yeah, see, but a big part of those movies too is he's trying to put on a big front, but eventually it crumbles, and you see that he's actually a softie underneath all of it.
Underneath it all.
We've learned to easily forgive aggression and arrogance in men, but to take exception at presentations of humility or sensitivity. We're accustomed to seeing men who are quick to violence and slow to diplomacy.
Again, I felt that Zachary Quinto's character of Mr. Spock was much more compelling than whoever the guy was who played Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zachary Quinto's amazing.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Newt is a significant departure from this trend. His version of manhood doesn't stem from physical strength, or combat skills, or feats of daring do,
Thank you.
or even from some preordained mystic destiny, like so many other
True
male
enough.
heroes. He's sincere, nurturing, emotional, and sensitive,
Yeah, that's definitely the Mert Lab. You must be particularly susceptible.
and critically, that sensitivity is framed as a strength rather than a
Oh.
weakness.
Stay still. That should stop the sweating.
When men in our culture express this kind of vulnerability, they're often labeled weak because nurturing and sensitivity are things that are stereotypically associated with women and with femininity. And by framing these attributes as positive and heroic aspects of a male adventure hero, it goes a long way to challenging regressive gender expectations. Now, in order for us to understand just how revolutionary Newt's performance of masculinity is, it's useful to talk a little bit more about all the things he's not.
Oh, and keep an eye on the staircases. They like to change.
Newt is a British wizard who attended Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. But Newt is not Harry Potter.
Definitely
He's a
not.
Hufflepuff.
Actually, no. I'm a proud Hufflepuff.
Hell yeah. Me too.
Me 3.
It's the people's school. Take the rest.
The house characterized by friendship,
Or house.
hard work, and
Not
humility.
school.
Hufflepuffs are said to be more down-to-earth and less competitive than the other 3 wizarding houses. Harry Potter, on the other hand, was sorted into Gryffindor, the house known for daring, nerve, chivalry, and prone to a fair bit of showing off. As such, Harry fits neatly into the pantheon of traditional Hollywood heroes. His is the archetypal hero's journey. And we all know how these fantasy character arcs are supposed to unfold. An unsuspecting young man has adventure thrust upon him, and it turns out that he's the only one in the entire universe who can save the world.
Yikes.
It's unfortunate too that his character was played that way when Daniel Radcliffe himself as a person is so much different. It seems that he does embody more of that compassionate, sensitive side. I mean, he came out against J.K. Rowling recently, basically calling her a TERF, which she is.
Are you allowed to say that word?
I think so. I think it's the S word that we're not allowed to say. It's the beginning of Simple Plan. Okay,
It's not happening.
that's fine.
Write it down or text it to me.
Not as clumsy or random as a blaster.
And thus he is transformed from shy, nerdy guy into triumphant badass. It's not uncommon for this evolution to involve fighting with some sort of flaming phallus. By contrast,
Again, I can get what he's saying, but these examples aren't always lining up. Scott Pilgrim, his final boss was himself and getting over his dark side that he had to confront and all his toxicity towards everybody. So, yeah, he did that through a lot of it, but that was his emotional journey.
Newt Scamander is not the chosen one. He doesn't have some fated cosmic burden that he alone must shoulder. Some have compared Newt with Doctor Who because, well, British, bow tie, and bigger on the inside. But that's really where the similarities end. Newt does harbor a deep inner pain, but his personal struggle doesn't manifest as arrogance.
Oh, a new one.
He's not interested in showing off his power in grand gestures.
So, all of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
Newt is a humble caregiver who's content with his personal goal, which, let's remember, is writing textbooks. Albeit magical textbooks, but still, that's surprisingly unassuming for a fantasy adventure hero. This means that, unlike Potter, Newt doesn't possess superpowered magic, nor is he plagued with self-doubt about his abilities or his place in the magical world.
Well, sit down, Mr. Scamander.
He's a grown-up, already confident in his wizarding skills,
I'm not gonna poison you.
even if he remains uncomfortable around others. And I suspect that this point might be another reason why some critics weren't so fond of this new wizarding protagonist.
Can I help you, sir?
I think there's an argument to be made that Newt exhibits the characteristics of someone on the autism spectrum. He's awkward in social settings, he doesn't like being touched, he feels intense empathy for others, but has trouble connecting to people and making friends. And
Do you have something you wanted to add?
No.
Okay.
careful
I
viewers
agree with that.
will also
Yeah,
notice
I agree
his
too.
aversion to direct eye contact. The film's narrative never confirms this hypothesis one way or the other. Perhaps this is simply how Eddie Redmayne decided to play the character. But whatever the case, it's a testament to both the writing and the acting that Newt's social anxieties are not framed in the stereotypical ways we've come to expect from Hollywood. Characters like this tend to fall into a few specific archetypes. There's the tormented genius, a brilliant but insufferable character who's intelligent to the point of instability or mental illness, which is often framed as the price he must pay for his extraordinary talent. There's the mad scientist, a whimsical or bumbling character whose weird eccentricities are perhaps endearing to a degree,
I'm gonna read your thoughts.
but are also played for comedy. And then there's the Sherlock Holmes archetype, a character possessing such a superhuman IQ
I said, could you pass me a pen?
that it leads to callousness
What when? About an hour ago.
and the inability or perhaps unwillingness to feel sympathy for other people.
Shut up. I understand you were thinking. It's annoying.
But Newt isn't too lost in his
Oh,
own
you like
mind
that?
or his own
It's kind of funny.
eccentricities to care
He
about
also
or
strikes
empathize
me
with
as a
other people.
bit of
In
neurodivergent.
fact, quite the
Yeah, I
opposite.
would say so.
His sensitivity is where he excels. Critically, Fantastic Beasts doesn't frame Newt's social anxiety as an obstacle he must ultimately overcome in order to be a true hero.
That's true. He just kind of gets to be himself and do his thing. That's cool.
You think we'd be more excited about breaking the norms now?
Mhm.
Because people are so trained into what the norms are?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised that there's not 35 videos from the Quartering about how woke Harry Potter's gotten.
Oh my gosh.
The Fantastic Beasts.
The narrative doesn't require him
I guess they didn't have a non-white lead, so he doesn't care.
Yeah.
to toughen up or learn to be more outgoing. Newt doesn't fundamentally have to change his way of being, and the people who become his friends are those who interact and engage with him on his terms. Newt does learn and grow over the course of his adventure, but it's a subtle, more interpersonal growth.
Everybody knows Newt only kept me around because...
He learns to make friends, and he
Hey.
learns to trust them.
Newt, why did you keep me around?
Because I like you. Because you're my friend.
Oh.
Aww.
And establishing these deep human connections is the core of his
I like
character
that means
development.
more than anything else to have somebody like that say, "You're my friend."
Right.
Well,
Right.
it just makes me think about our.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's been
The ending of Fantastic Beasts is rather anticlimactic compared to most other action fantasy movies, and even compared to most other films in the Harry Potter universe. As expected, there's a final showdown with a powerful and destructive magical force. But even here, Newt's actions are guided by his empathy.
I'm here to help you, Queens. Because I'm not here to hurt you.
Rather than besting his foe in an epic magical duel, Newt approaches the conflict with an eye for de-escalation. Of course, in the end, the malevolent force is vanquished, but it's not done by Newt's hand. Even more surprising, this triumph over evil isn't shown to be a cause for celebration. It is instead framed as a melancholy event. Melancholy because our heroes failed to save the monster. I feel like I might need to say that again. In this movie, defeating the monster is framed as a tragedy because they couldn't save him. A fittingly unconventional conclusion to an unconventional Hollywood fantasy production. It remains to be seen if Warner Brothers has the guts to keep Newt as the protagonist throughout all 5 films in the franchise. For her part, J.K. Rowling has said that Newt will remain the star, at least for the next movie in the series. But within Hollywood, there's no doubt enormous pressure to shift the focus to a character who performs a more traditional and expected type of manhood.
I feel like they've done that already, shifting things to Jude Law and the story of Dumbledore and all that. More so than Newt. He does kind of take the sidekick role at this point, unfortunately.
The studio
That's
has even
sad.
hinted
Yeah.
at demoting Newt's role. And that would be a shame, because we need more movies center a gentle, empathetic version of heroic masculinity. If you'd like to see more videos related to media and manhood, hop on over to my Patreon page
Yeah.
and help fund the Pop Culture Detective Agency.
It's a really cool channel. I like his takes in general. He always brings in something cool.
Well, it's just like, it's important and it's nice to like consider like what is masculinity and femininity? Like, isn't that just kind of like basically up for every person to decide for themselves?
Yeah.
Because I don't often think about other people in their like masculinity or femininity, but I think of myself in that way and like my partner
Right.
in that way,
Yeah.
but not anyone outside of that, because like to me that's not really my business,
I would say that
aside
too.
from like using someone's correct pronouns.
Sure.
Because if they've shared that piece, then I need to honor that.
I think you're spot on, and I think that means that also the inverse is true. The people that obsess about, whoa, is this masculine? Is this feminine? And stuff like that, think only about what other people are performing as, and how, if they're being a good performer, if they're living up to the standards, and well, lo and behold, 99% of people don't meet their standard, including usually themselves.
But also like it just feeds more into the like it's a spectrum.
Sure.
Gender is a spectrum. Like,
and it manifests different for every person. There's probably not a single trait that you could say is only masculine or only feminine, especially when we're talking about emotional stuff and temperament and interests, career goals,
well,
what have you.
It should be.
Gender roles, like.
It should go both ways.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have more of an interest in cooking than I do.
Although you have quite an interest in baking, so it's kind of in the same.
Yeah. But then when you talk to people who are actually chefs and bakers, it's interesting because they say people that are more science-minded are more into baking because it does require a certain level of order and precision, and
yeah, you got to follow
it's
instructions.
a science.
Yeah.
You must follow the instructions,
There's a recipe.
otherwise it's going to get fucked up. As we're cooking, you're so much more creative.
Yeah, and that's what I like to be, is creative and try different things and experiment and
Play with
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're really good at it.
Get to know.
And-
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
But again, that's like, isn't the science-minded more of a masculine thing and the creative-minded more of a feminine thing? By this,
Yeah, it's stupid.
it's silly.
It's
but
stupid.
I'm just saying, most people's measures, this would be opposite.
Right. Indeed. Well, that was a good video. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I like those movies. I don't really care what anybody else says, and I think he's a nice character. He's the kind of person I would
Yeah.
want to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
And be friends with. But then,
Yeah, I very much like the movies too, except for that last one.
yeah,
I
the
really
last one.
felt was a letdown. But
And
again,
it
it's
wasn't
because they're
anything to do with him.
No, it's because they're shifting focus to the story of Dumbledore and to Jude Law, the more traditionally masculine, let's just fight everything sort of character.
So it's silly.
Interesting.
I think it'd be interesting to keep the focus on Newt and then have him struggle with himself and his identity, to come back to the fact that like who he is who he is, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a valid struggle for anybody. Becoming comfortable in your own skin.
Mm-hmm. Liking yourself because you're the person you have to deal with all day.
Right. Absolutely. Well, very cool. Let's move on to the next one. We got less than an hour left, so I think probably gonna not do Modern Moloch tonight, just because it's almost a 25-minute video, and I'm gonna have a lot to say about it. So we'll go from the sublime to the idiotic. We'll take a look at some Prager poo.
I might tap out part way through this. This chair really
yeah.
bites. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you said that's on your Christmas list though too, right? Is new chair.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I found one for like $40.
So we'll take a look at Prager poo. How wokeness killed country music. You know, all that wokeness that goes into country nowadays that never used to, fly. Let's not look at outlaw country, though, because, that might be considered a little bit woke. All their anti-lawman messaging and stuff.
Actually, I might have to tap out now.
That's fine.
This might be a better call anyway. Sorry, folks.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us.
Of course.
Always appreciate your company.
Oh, thanks. You're so nice.
Yeah.
You're so sweet.
You're so sweet.
One of our friends. That's his go-to.
So sweet.
You're so sweet. It makes up insurance jiggles. It makes my day.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining.
But he does it for himself, which is amazing. Ow, sorry.
No problem.
Guys, that's my bones. All that crunching. This is what happens when you turn 38.
That's right. Almost over the hill.
I know. It means I'm going to die by 80.
Oh, that's just the colloquial way of
Nope.
framing it. It's not exactly scientific method here.
80.
Better not be.
How old do you think we're going to be?
100. I'm not being alone for 20 years.
Huh?
I'm going to live to 100, and I'm not being alone for 20 years, so you better not die.
100 seems like a long time.
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get into this PragerU video. Oh boy, this should be a ride. How many views are on this one? This was a lot of views. 2 million views 2 months ago. Here's the description. Wokeism in the entertainment industry has made its way to Nashville. Freedom and creating art go hand in hand, and wokeism is destroying both. Country singer, songwriter John Rich shares his moving story about how he got his start in music, dealing with failure and never bending a knee to the woke mob. He also talks about patriotism, being a dad, and the American values his family instilled in him from an early age that led to his success. Well, let's take it away, Prager Poo.
There's no Johnny Cash's or Waylon Jennings or those kind of people or Loretta Lynn's. Well, there's a good reason for that, because none of those people would have been allowed to exist.
Capitalism. That's the fucking reason that we don't have Johnny Cash's and Loretta Lynn's and Waylon Jennings and, any of that sort of thing breaching the mainstream at this point. It's because it doesn't sell right now. A country has completely, well, I shouldn't say completely. The mainstream country, the country that you're likely to hear on a country radio station, has given in to what makes money, and that's blending country with basically pop music and whatever is the flavor of the month in terms of commercial, ventures. Not to say there's anything wrong with pop music. I enjoy quite a bit of it myself, but that's the reason for it. It's to chase the dollars. It's not because of wokeism. This is the most ridiculous premise. And he looks like he just bought his hat at a Western store and is wearing it for the first time. But
This today.
that's an aside.
My name is John Rich, and this is my story.
Yeah, cool.
So I grew up in a
we
town
can
called
join the
Amarillo,
fight.
Texas. So if you look at the state of Texas, go to the very top where it squares off like this. That's called the Panhandle of Texas. Were it not for
Yep.
Interstate 40 rolling through Amarillo, there would probably be no town there. It would just be more cows and more wheat fields. A lot of tough people out there, cowboys, oil workers, a lot of agriculture. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. So I have 2 younger sisters and then a baby brother. My dad was doing everything from, he was a night watchman at Amarillo National Bank. He was slopping hogs for the neighbor's hog farm next door, giving guitar lessons, selling used cars, mowing people's grass, detailing people's cars, literally anything he could think of to make sure we didn't go without, and we didn't go without. My dad is a preacher. My dad started preaching when he was about 19 years old. And
Well, that's definitely something you don't see in country anymore, is people talking about Jesus or God or anything like that.
And he never
I don't
preached
even know
in the
what
big
this
churches, so there was never any salary really attached to anything he was doing. My dad's more of a prison preacher. I never remember my dad without a guitar.
What is this triple camera angle? Is this how you attract the focus of the millennials? You have to have it on multiple screens, keep their attention going.
Or hanging around his neck.
Oh,
so
I do not like that
he preached
decision.
in little churches, or he'd preach in prisons, or he would preach in the streets, wherever he was at. And one of his big assets was he could pull a guitar out and start singing, because they might not want to hear him preach, but they wouldn't mind listening to him sing for a minute, and he knew that. So man, he would sing and wear it out. One of his extra jobs was to give guitar lessons there in Amarillo, Texas. When I was about 5 or 6, my dad goes, "You want to go with me to guitar lessons?" I'm like, "Sure, Dad." I mean, what kid doesn't want to tag along? I said, "Sure, Dad." So I go down there, and he's got this semicircle of.
This is
I
incredibly
sat
boring.
behind him, and I'm just doing what he's teaching them to do. And within about 2 or 3 months,
I don't
it never
care
dawned on
about
me
any
people
of
make
this.
money. It was a real binder
We're
working
gonna-
on this song and writing lyrics.
We're gonna skip a bunch of this stuff. This has nothing to do with
That
wokeism.
my dad
or-
was able to write something.
Suppose
perform
this is
it,
just
create
padding.
something out of nothing, and say
Great.
that hey, you live in America.
Oh,
And some of
here
the
we
old
go.
men said, yeah, and we were in World War II.
Oh,
he was in,
okay.
You know, he was here and he was there. And you learn those stories. They go, it doesn't matter where you start off, son. You can wind up no telling where. You just got to think big and work hard. You got to outwork everybody.
So he was lied to as a young person, young adult, likely. That's a great way to start off. So these old guys came and they told me that if you just work hard, you can do whatever you want, and so that must be truth. Brilliant.
And you know that hustle will beat talent. You know, there's a misconception in the world that the most talented people.
Guess what trumps both of those? Nepotism. Nepotism will beat all of that every single time. And also just cronyism as well. So, there's that also tried and truism. That it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is going to get you much farther than any of the stuff he's talking about. Doesn't matter if you're talented. Doesn't matter if you are, on that Sigma grind set or whatever. You know the right people, and you'll have a cushy spot in life, basically, as long as you like. And that's it. And it's by no means an endorsement of the system. It is the opposite. It is an indictment of it, because it should not be that way. But it totally shows the lie of the idea that we live in a meritocracy. We do not. We do not. We have entrenched powers that continue to use their leverage and advantages to keep those around them in power as well.
People are the ones that always win. That is not true. If the most talented singers were the ones on country radio, if that's the only ones that ever made it, you'd have a completely different group of people singing on the radio. The people on the radio that have become big stars and that you hear are the ones that have talent, of course, but they are the ones that were willing to stick with it, figure out the business side of the music so they could have these long careers. It wasn't just because they could hit a high note. And that goes across the spectrum of all business, all entrepreneurial efforts, period. And so I was taught that early on. Hey, buddy, if you want to go get something, go get it. When I was in high school, I started singing a lot. I would enter, singing competitions and this and that. I got noticed by a couple of universities.
Okay, this is just more background nonsense. Like,
and
where is he going?
And all these live music shows in the park.
Yep.
I went down to audition thinking I'd never get it because I'm not a dancer. And I said, you got to be able to dance. But I thought, well, there are a bunch of good-looking girls down there. So It's probably worth the trip.
Ha, ha,
So I go
ha.
down,
What a-
audition,
what
what do you
a
know, I get
fun
the job.
anecdote.
This is my senior year of high school. That summer after I graduated, I go to work at Opryland, and I meet these guys from Texas who are all 10 and 15 years older than me, and they're all working at Opryland too. They said, "You're from Texas, right?" I go, "Yeah." They go, "We're putting a little band together, and would you want to be in the band? You play a little bass?" I said, "I play barely, but yeah, I play a little bit of bass." They said, "Well, let's meet this weekend. We'll have a rehearsal."
Hey, so weird. Like, it wasn't his talent or his grind set that got him a job. It was meeting the right guys. Even in his own story, he can't keep on his narrative.
And if it goes well, maybe we'll play a couple of shows. I said, "Sounds good." We did a little showcase, and next thing you know, we've got 200 dates on the books. But I said, "How much money am I going to make if I do all these dates?" He goes, "Man, you'll probably make like $400 a week." I went, "What?" Couldn't believe it. Like, that's so much money. So I said, "You know what? I'm going to push college off for a year, go travel with these guys." My mother said, "Well, you'll never amount to a hill of beans if you don't go to college." And I said, "Well, a hill of beans is not what I intend on amounting to." What a smart aleck answer, right? But that was my attitude.
And there's the old PragerU anti-intellectual bent. Gotta get your dig in at college is a waste of time and money for no particular reason. Just because they don't want people to know stuff, I guess.
Like, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. These guys made me an offer. I love playing music more than anything. How do I get on the Grand Ole Opry? This is probably a better route. And sure enough, that band went on to become the band Lone Star, which we sold 6 million records while I was in that band. That's where I wrote my...
Lone Star. What was their hit? That... Were they the ones that did that Amazed by You song that was like played at every goddamn high school dance that I attended? Lone Star. That sound... I know I've heard their stuff. Yup. Amazed. That god-awful song that... They're not even dressed in country and or western attire in their music video. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Lone Star. I can't play the music. Jesus Christ. Oh, I gotta show just a clip of this video. This is getting died in the wool country, man. Look at this. Look at this video. Tell me that this is true grit country. Salt of the earth. Where are the cowboys? There's the dude. This could be the band Train from that same era. Like, they have the same look, the same drip. Not even a bolo tie in sight. So country. Oh God, it so sucks that wokeism has destroyed all this. No beautiful vistas, no. Do they ever go outside in this video? No, it's just in this one place and showing this lady getting ready for a bath. Wow, that's so cool. That song is garbage too. It was only successful because it was a pop country crossover. This guy, oh my God. What a complete fraud. Oh, that's good. I knew as soon as I heard that name, Lone Star. It's like, wait a minute. Oh, Lone Star. Wow.
My first #1 songs and really cut my teeth on country music. Being in Lone Star at 18, 19, 20, it was up to...
It's such a pop country song too. Like, just it might as well have been pop. It was basically pop with a southern accent. There was no themes of, like, you know, the cliche of, you know, your dog dying, your wife leaving you, county coming to repossess your home, none of that stuff. It's just a really basic schlocky love song.
To about 24 years old is when I was in that band. This is when you learn that country music is not a hobby. If you want to have a career in that, buddy, you better get ready. 3 guys in a hotel room, and not a nice hotel room, crammed into a Jeep Cherokee pulling...
You haven't missed it yet, James. I don't know why you're never getting notifications for my stuff anymore. But I do appreciate you showing up for the end. We are ripping apart a Prager Poo video. This guy from Lone Star, the band Lone Star, is complaining about how country's gone all woke now. And that's what's destroying it. I imagine in West Virginia you've heard your share of country music. How would you characterize the band Lone Star in terms of the, true authentic pantheon of country singers and bands?
In a U-Haul trailer from Orlando to Reno, Nevada. I mean, stuff like that. Playing anywhere they'd give you a mic.
Yeah, that's what every successful band does, and a hell of a lot more percentage of unsuccessful bands that just barely scrape by on doing these sorts of tours. So there's no guarantee that being on your grind set as a band is ever going to make you famous. Again, he met the right people in order to get into this band. He happened to be part of a summer production of some music show just after high school. Met some guys. They asked him if he wanted. He didn't even audition. They asked him if he wanted to be in the band. They said, "Can you play bass?" He says, "Barely, but I can do it." And then he was off. Yeah, it's truly his grit and determination and stick-to-itiveness that has led to his success, not random chance and meeting the right people.
You're going to go play. So you learn what it means to really go out and grind for something. And there's no guarantee you're ever going to get it. How does all...
People in West Virginia still like Bocephus. What is Bocephus? That's not a name that I recognize. Bocephus. Oh, Hank Williams Jr. Yeah, definitely the worst of the Hank Williams set. Is that who you're referring to? My name is Bocephus Hank Williams. Hank Williams Jr. is garbage, at least as a person. Super right-wing and reactionary. Now, Hank the Third, at least, is interesting. I don't know his politics, but Hank the Third will at least get into like death metal. He will play any sort of music, and seems to really be genuine about it. And of course, the original Hank Williams. That's classic country. That's singing about having a hard life out there on the prairie or whatever it is in the desert. That sort of thing. But Hank Williams too, whose career crescendo was, "Are you ready for some football?" That's him. That's his claim to fame. And also nepotism. Hey, look at that again. Probably wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for his father. Cool. Anyway, let's get back to this absolute fraud.
All this work, the business of music on a small level, but still the business of music. That's where I learned all that stuff. And then being a songwriter, the only reason I would write a song prior to Lone Star would be to try to impress some girl. But you get into Lone Star, you got a record deal now, and they're like, "Guys, you're going to cut a record. You should probably write some songs." And that's where I started getting a lot better at writing songs.
Oh,
My
yeah.
first number one.
Amazed. Wow. What ground-shaking lyrics. What a revolution in lyricism. Let's look up some of the lyrics for Amazed. Every time our eyes meet, this feeling inside me is almost more than I can take. Baby, when you touch me, I can feel how much you love me. Rhyming me with me. Whew. Look out, Willie Shakespeare over here, and just blows me away. I've never been this close to anyone or anything. I can hear your thoughts. I can see your dreams. Oh, that's just freaking creepy. But I don't know how you do what you do. I'm so in love with you. It just keeps getting better. I want to spend the rest of my life with you by my side forever and ever. Whoa. Oh, shoot. James has ads. Well, when you get back from ads, we will start it back up there, James. I wouldn't want you to miss a second of this lyrical genius we have the pleasure of getting the insights from tonight. Lone Star. That's just so funny that they picked him of all people. Like, wasn't Hank Williams Jr. available for this? He's pretty freaking reactionary. I think he's gone on the record saying some pretty racist stuff. Let's look that up while we're waiting for ads to run through on people. Yeah, here you go. A Night of Racism, Patriotism, and Homophobia with Hank Williams Jr. by the Dallas Observer. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Are you ready for some football? His claim to fame in this article. Let's see. Let's see some of his quotes. Oh, this is a review of his concert where he did a bunch of covers in the middle, like Leonard Skinner's Three Steps, that's some pretty mid Leonard Skinner right there. Marshall Tucker Band's Can You See? Yeah. Oh boy, I don't think I want to read all this. Williams told the story of meeting a black man at his father's house. You know, I love the black man, quote, and he came to me and said, Yo, Daddy, got that song about jambalaya and the crawfish pie, oh my God, unquote. Doing some, like, Sambo routine up there. That's great. Like minstrelsy. Remember, country music is just for white people singing the blues. Country music is just white people singing the blues, says Williams Jr. You get your dobro and a lot of good things will happen for you, little Bocephus. He may have been drunk at this point, says the author of this. What a loser. Oh my God. Hank Williams II. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why didn't they get him for this, James? Thanks for telling me when the ads are over too. Hank Williams Jr., maybe they just couldn't handle him. Maybe he would just be a little bit too mask off for the likes of PragerU. They like to tiptoe up to that line. They don't want to be accused of out and out anti-Semitism or racism. But I would hope, especially not anti-Semitism, being that Dennis Prager is a practicing Jew. But yeah, they will not they will not be that mask off. So maybe that was the reason that old Hank Jr. couldn't make it on this particular recording. Let's keep going.
One was called "Come Crying to Me," which came out. We sold 2 or 3 million records on that one.
Let's see the genius of "Come Crying to Me." This master lyricist. Come crying to me. You think he's gonna rhyme me with me again? Come crying to me. I can see it in your eyes. You're living a troubled life, and you've been hurting more and more these days. You don't have to hide it. Don't even have to fight it. Oh, you rhymed it with it. All right. Maybe all you need to do is just turn and walk away when you're tired of it all, and the tears will fall. Your back's against the wall. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to hold on. You don't. You've been there too long. Come crying to me. And then the cat, he went and sat on the mat. Come crying to me. I can't do this. What a blowhard. Wow, what genius, man.
Man, that's when I said, you know what? I like this songwriting thing. That's the most powerful things in the world.
Oh, the split screen again. This is so obnoxious.
To me.
What is this, like a film school's like a thesis entry or something like that? Film school students project? Like what's with why do we need to see 2 angles of the same man's face talking at the same time? how does this help anything? This is, I mean, you want to add visual interest, put him in an interesting spot. Put him on the wide open plains in the background. Something, a setting sun, whatever. Like, multiple angles at once. This is
blank paper and a pencil. Nobody
so
can tell
obnoxious.
you what you can put on it. The Declaration of Independence started out as blank paper, and somebody had to put a pen to it. The pages
Yeah, right. I'm sure none of them have been talking about any of those ideas before they wrote them down.
of the Bible. We can go on and on and on. Pretty much all the great things that ever impacted the world in general started out with somebody with a thought or a feeling, a writing instrument, and something to write on.
I mean, there's certain sects of Christianity that would consider those words blasphemous, that the Bible started as a blank page that someone just thought up. Wow.
So
Prager,
songwriting to me is kind of like that. It's a blast, but it's also very powerful. And it has pulled me out of a lot of ditches throughout my career. Part of the equation of succeeding at something is you're going to fail a lot, getting up to the point where you're an expert at it or you're a pro at it. And so the question is, how do you deal with failure? Because you're going to get it.
Split
If you're not
screen's so
failing, then you're
dumb.
not trying. We all know that old phrase. It's very true. For me, when Lone Star fires me, they go off and put the biggest song out in the decade. I lose my solo deal. I'm damaged goods. I thought, what is the only thing I can still control?
Wait, was he not? No, he was a part of it. We saw him in the music video. I'm pretty
And I tell
sure.
people this all the time. When everything seems out of your control and things are just blowing up left and right, you got to think, what's the one thing I still control? It could be something as simple as what I'm going to eat, how I'm going to exercise, something simple, and control it very well. And you will start to build back out from that slowly but surely back into the realms of things that you'd actually like to be doing. For me, it was songwriting. So you can take away my record deal, you can take away my concerts, you can take away the awards.
Oh my
and all
God, so many iterations. It's I cannot compare this to anything. I've never seen this technique employed for, the back studio interview style. This is absolutely ridiculous. Well, if 4 of the same guy are telling me the same thing, it must be true.
that, but I still got a pencil and I still got a notebook. And I still got this old Gibson guitar sitting here, and nobody can tell me what I can write on this page.
You don't think that maybe treading on your past career successes might have something to do with your future ability to pull yourself back up after a setback? Maybe the connections that you've made along the way probably helped you out just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit.
I've been asked to write songs for all different kinds of reasons. I've sat down with my buddy Big Kenny, have a couple of cocktails. What's the craziest thing we could come up with, Kenny? Save a horse, ride a cowboy. Oh, that sounds good. Okay, here you go. Let's write that one. I've had artists come to me. There was
Oh, did he write that save a horse, ride a cowboy? Let's see. This guy's John Rich, right? Yeah, so he actually did write that. Again, at least he's in this case he's pulling some traditional country themes, talking about cowboys and horses and stuff like that. It is tongue in cheek. There's a lot of that sort of thing, rich history of very playful type humor in the songwriting. But it's a pop hit. This is this is not Waylon Jennings. This is not Johnny Cash. Come on now.
one guy in particular came up and he said, "Hey, man."
And notice we are now about 2/3 of the way into the video. Has he said the word woke yet? He's just been taking all this time to do his backstory. This is
I heard
ridiculous.
a couple of yours.
The
I
most
wish I had some
empty
songs
video.
like that.
2 million
And
views.
I'm just trying to get a record deal. So could I use
2 million views, likely for the title. Oh, let's click on my daily dose of hating at the, wokeism, whatever that means for everyone who's clicking on it. I don't know how anyone could sit through 9 whole minutes of this if they were here to learn about how wokeism is doing that to country music, because he has not said a single thing about it yet.
A few of your songs in my shows. I said, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, who are you again? He goes, my name's Jason Aldean. I went, never heard of you. What songs do you want? And he starts listing off some of these titles. I said, wow, dude, those are my favorite songs. He goes, yeah, I probably won't even get a deal. I just want to, see if I could use them. I said, yeah, you can use them, man, no problem. And Aldean, of course, gets his record deal. And I wound up having 5 #1 songs on Jason Aldean. And all those songs were written back when everything was exploding all around me and I focused.
Oh, dumb luck and meeting the right people at the right time. Wow. Jesus Christ. True grit and determination, that's what gets you through. And then also meeting the right people at every turn, even when things are bad. And 5 years later, having someone record some of the songs that you wrote and get 5 #1 hits. That's through grit and determination.
Just on the one thing that I could still control, which was that pencil on that paper. So people got to remember that the game is not over.
You got lucky. You got so lucky. He could have never amounted to anything. So I would say, I mean, I've never been in the music industry, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's damn near 100% of people that think they're going to make it big never make it big. Maybe don't even make enough to scrape by for more than a month or two. That was a roll of the dice. That was lightning striking 5 times. And again, I'm not going to take the time to look up those song lyrics, but I bet they're just as simplistic and unattached to classic country that he seems to revere so much as everything else that we've looked up. I'd be willing to make that bet. Wow, this dude.
Give up. Faith Hill came to me one time and she said, I wish you'd write a song.
What? Another famous person who was very successful came and asked him to write a song. Wow. That came from just his Sigma grind set.
Song for me that it would only make sense if I sang it. I went, that's an interesting parameter. Okay, only makes sense if you sing it. I said, oh, I'll work on it. And so
How is that interesting? This is what all the major pop stars do. Do you think that Lady Gaga is writing all of her own lyrics, or Beyonce, or I guess I'm not really up on what is the top of the top right now. No. A lot of the songs, a lot of the #1 hits are written by other people. That's just how it works. Like, it's very rare to have incredible talent in performance and singing or playing an instrument, and also genius lyrical ability. That's just the reality of the beast. Like, that's why singer-songwriters are such a rare breed. So how is that in any way unique that someone asked them to write a song that would be personal to them and make it their own? You know, let's see. What was the #1 pop hit for last year? Let's look it up. Hit of 2021. Let's see. What was #1 hit in 2021? Easy on Me by Adele. Let's see if Adele, let's see writing credits for Easy on Me. Who wrote Easy on Me? Easy on Me by Adele. Songwriters. Adele was a co-writer, but also had Greg Kurstin on there. So even these Adele is a pretty phenomenal singer-songwriter. But had a co-writer on the #1 song, pop song of last year. Let's take a look at some more songs from 2022. Mood by 24K Golden featuring Ian Dior. Mood, who wrote it? Let's find out. Mood by 24 Karat Gold. Let's see. Ian Dior is our rapper 24 Karat Golden Von Jones. Okay, so there we go. But also has other co-writers. Again, almost no one is writing all of their stuff completely. So yeah, all those songs that seem very personal to people. And often famous singer-songwriters will be more successful with other people's work than their own. The most famous example that comes to mind is Knocking on Heaven's Door, which is still a very popular Bob Dylan song, but I think the one that people think of, well, you know what, maybe that's not even a good one either, because, you know, you might think of, there's several versions you might think of. It wouldn't just be Eric Clapton. But still, there's plenty of really popular songs that were written by other famous singer-songwriters. They trade around. This is a common thing. So I don't know why he's making it out to be such a above and beyond sort of thing that he wrote a song for another famous singer.
Out on the road with Tim McGraw with Big and Rich, and I'm noticing that Faith backstage, flip-flops, ball cap, cut off shorts, hanging out with her kids, parking lot like anybody else. But then when the show starts, she comes walking off the bus in an evening gown. She steps out with Tim singing It's Your Love to 30,000 people. She gets through, she walks back off 5 minutes later, ball cap, tank top, back to normal. I went, that's what the fans don't know about Faith. That's what they need to know about Faith. They don't get to come backstage and see that. So I wrote this song called Mississippi Girl.
This is so boring.
For the first,
where's the wokeism
It went
part?
#1 for 2 weeks. They're sitting there and they're being told by their publicists, their managers, the heads of their record.
Here we go.
That's hit this
Here's the
country,
meat of
and
it.
especially,
Here
I'm gonna
we
put
go.
that out. She goes, thank you for writing that. It went #1 for 2 weeks.
So in minute 11 of 14 minutes and 32 seconds, we finally get to the actual title of the video rather than just his self-congratulatory backstory.
The wave of wokeism that's hit this country, and especially the entertainment business, that made its
What
way
wave?
to Nashville. So these artists are sitting there and they're being told by their publicists, their managers, the heads of their record labels, hey, we know that you think these things about America, that you're against kind of all this woke stuff that we do. They don't call themselves woke, of course. But we know you're not really for that. But hey, don't even think about putting out a post that pushes against that. Don't you say XYZ on your microphone on your stage. No, you cannot record that song because it says this.
Why? Let's assume that's true. Why would they be telling them this? Is it because they want to push their woke agenda, or is it because they're afraid that they'll get canceled and they'll lose a lot of record sales and they won't make as much money? Because those are some pretty divergent motivations, wouldn't you say? This idea that there's some grand conspiracy to push wokeism when it's just a reflection of what sells right now, right? They're going to be telling them this stuff because they want them to make money, and they don't want to invest tons of money in recordings and promotion, publicity, all this stuff, just to have them say something stupid and thoughtless in public and ruin that all. So is there an issue of free speech there? Well, sure, but it's in the name of the almighty dollar. It's not in the name of some secret wokeist agenda. And again, yeah, as I predicted, not going to define what wokeism is. And I seriously doubt in the last couple minutes here we'll ever get an idea of what that is. And that's on purpose. They want it to be nebulous so it can scare people. It's the modern day Red Scare, basically, because socialism, communism, anarchism are not as big and scary to the millennial generation, and certainly not to the generation just coming of age, my children's generation, Gen Z. They're a lot more cool with it because they didn't live through the Cold War. They didn't have the big red menace always in the back of their mind or any of that stuff. They didn't live at any time that Reagan was alive, thank goodness. So, yeah, seems a little bit more simple of an explanation that they just don't want to have their big investment flop because they say stupid stuff in public. And with platforms such as like Twitter, everything you are saying is a public conversation, and it's taking people a long time to get used to that idea that even though you don't you couldn't possibly have millions of people in mind when you're saying something, you couldn't possibly know millions of people individually. It is as though you were having a conversation with each one of those millions of people, and so they're going to tend to take it personally, take it out of context, especially if they have a vendetta against you. And I mean, without even getting into whether or not cancellation is much of a real thing, except for perhaps in some really egregious cases, such as Harvey Weinstein, where it took how many dozens of people to come forward to finally bring him to justice, or Jeffrey Epstein, which took decades of just getting slaps on the wrist for gross criminal actions before he finally got brought to justice as well. The idea that anyone is really canceled who has much power, I just don't quite buy it.
Just completely control these artists, and the artist only has two choices at that point. Do they want to go have a career? It's been their dream. Do they play the game, go forward, and just don't step on these landmines? Or do they go out and hit the tripwires and light the place up and lose their...
Has that ever been different? Has the artist really ever had complete control? Except for, again, in very rare circumstances where you get to superstardom. And even in that case, it took the Beatles decades to get the rights back to all of their songs. I don't know if they even still own the rights to all of their songs. Most the way most songwriting contracts work is you don't own the rights to it. The company does, the label does. They get all of the copyright stuff. You may get a little bit of a kickback, but it's crumbs compared to what the record label, who, I mean, let's be real, is doing very little of the work comparatively. They're not the ones going on grueling long tours to perform in front of people, always have to be on, always have to be poised, even if you're just in public for other reasons. When it comes down to it, what they're doing is basically just promotion and distribution, which is work. It is a service. Though just owning the rights to music is not really a good or a service. It is intellectual property, which I would say can be argued to go against what leftism should be about. It only is stifling the creativity. It only benefits the already wealthy. Even in the case where artists own their own work, it's only because they've gotten to the status of super wealthy where they don't really need, the leverage and power of a label anymore. They can start their own or whatever. But again, has this ever been different? Has there ever been a time in country music where you could just sing about, whatever you feel like, and the record label would just be fine with it? They don't ever have creative control until this era of wokeism came into play? That's absolutely absurd. Think about it for more than 5 seconds. Music artists have very little control over their own creative process, over their own work. As I said, they're often not even singing their own material. They're singing material made specifically for them. So the idea that they used to have creative control, but now this wokeism has come in, is laughable on its face.
A record deal and not get invited to the awards show, and radio won't play them and so forth. But basically a race.
Same thing that it's always been. Don't talk about that hot button issue. Don't sing about this thing. Or here, we're going to give you the stuff. You're going to go sing this stuff. And that's part of your contract. So you're going to do it whether you like it or not, whether you actually believe in the words in any of your songs or not. It's always been the case. It's
their
ridiculous.
Career. That's what they're faced with. Is there freedom in art in Nashville? Like total freedom? Absolutely not.
Has there ever been? Like in that long backstory, did he talk about how much creative freedom he had? No. The only creative freedom he had was when he wrote a bunch of stuff on his own, not connected to any label, and then happened to get picked up by people that made the songs famous. Wow. This premise is so
Absolutely not.
shaky.
It's sad. To make authentic art, whatever that is, whether it's music, films, whatever, the artist needs to have free reign.
That absolutely does mean that, James, that the label can sell your song to anyone that they like. Now, generally, especially if it becomes iconic to a particular band or singer, they're going to be loath to do that sort of thing. They're not going to give out those performance rights, or I don't even know exactly what the term for it is, but they're not going to let other people record cover versions unless they think it will make them more money. And generally, when you have a hit, especially like a very personal hit to a particular singer or artist or band, you're going to want to just keep milking that cash cow as long as you can. And that means not spreading it around that much, keeping it exclusive to that artist. But yeah, there's nothing stopping any record label. I mean, you could have I don't even know modern rappers, but you could have a modern rapper singing like Boot Scoot Boogie or Watermelon Slide or Hey Good Looking, for that matter. And if the record label says that's okay, what is the artist going to do about it? How much creative freedom is there for the actual artists themselves? Almost zero. Almost zero, because everything you make, it's like when you go to a university and you use research facilities, whatever patents come out of your research goes to the university. You don't get patent rights, even though it was your intellectual effort. It's that rare instance in our system of government where intellectual effort is not as important as intellectual property rights. Well, I guess it's not even rare. That's usually, I suppose that's usually the case. What am I saying? That's how all of those rich people who claim to be inventors and stuff, like the Elon Musks of the world, that's how they build up their brand, is they have people invent stuff for them, create things for them, do business for them, and then they just take the credit, because who's going to stop them, really? So yeah, it's always been intellectual property over intellectual effort. Labor is always valued less than ownership. That's how the system is set up, and very clearly exemplified in the way the music industry works.
Over whatever it is they've got in their mind. The whole point of art is I can see it in my mind, I can hear it in my mind. I'm gonna make it a physical reality, and that's the art. So when you start building walls and parameters and barriers and protocols
and split screens
around artists, then the art's dying at that point. Look at our poor comedians having to pick and choose what jokes they want to say.
Oh my God. Yeah, poor Louis C.K. still out there doing his ridiculous anti-woke bullshit now. Poor Dave Chappelle. His entire career's been so pummeled to pieces by the woke mob that he's only left with performing on SNL, about the most mainstream comedy venue there is in the country. This is nonsense. The idea that like I say, what does cancellation actually do? Cancellation works when people are not powerful, when the target is not powerful. When it is a random person who is, say, existing as a trans person, sure, cancellation can work then. You can smear them up and down, and their character, everything, say, make up terrible lies about them, and for the most part, they don't have a lot of recourse. So there is power in canceling the little guy, or gal, or NB pal. There's not a lot of power in canceling powerful people. It just doesn't really happen. Like Bill Cosby got out of jail just because he was old and still had a lot of power and pull in the community. R. Kelly, still writing disgusting songs from prison. I mean, again, it took decades of going after R. Kelly just to bring him down. And tons of people coming forward with allegations to make things stick with him. This is just so absurd. The idea, I mean, like Kanye West, perfect, excuse me, Ye, perfect recent example. Saying literal fascist stuff, literal Nazi stuff, saying he loves the Nazis, still keeps somehow managing to find one more venue to go on and talk about his really abhorrent views. Where's the cancellation culture there? This is literal Nazi shit. Like, saying he loves Hitler, that he was misunderstood, that he doesn't believe the Holocaust it happened like the history books say it did. Blaming Jewish people as running the media and everything. Saying the most openly, blatantly anti-Semitic and racist things imaginable, and yet still keeps getting venues. Wow, that cancel culture really bites you. He's gone to the point of wearing a mask and gloves in his interviews. He looks ridiculous. He seems unhinged completely. Still keeps getting space to spout his viewpoints. But yeah, that woke mob will kill you and your career.
I mean, I've got some comedian friends that are hardcore socialists who I'm friends with that have come to me and said, man, I can't.
Correction, James. Chappelle was funny. When Chappelle was new on the scene and edgy and actually had biting political commentary that punched up instead of down, yeah, he was funny. He was relevant. Now that ever since he got on Team Turf, he's no longer funny. Yeah, that's true, James. Ye probably not even wear a mask during COVID because that's one more of his batshit conspiracy theories that he likes to throw out as proof that a secret cabal of them, as he says, run everything.
I can't vote for this anymore. I go, why not? They go, I'm having to pick and choose what jokes I'm going to say. That's not comedy. We're like the last line of defense for the truth. We get to say it right out in the open, and there's nothing you can do.
Oh my God. There are a few professions in the world more insufferable than comedians in general. My God, do they hold their craft in such fucking high esteem? It's like, oh, we're the jesters. We're speaking truth to power, and that can be true, but most of the jokes from people that really get bent out of shape about how you can't say anything in comedy anymore are just, the easiest anti-trans stuff, the easiest homophobic stuff, the easiest racist bullshit. So, and again, where's this woke mob that's like coming in to ride them out on a rail out of town? Oh, you coming back for a second?
No, I'm closing the blinds.
Oh, closing the blinds. Okay.
Did your audience increase?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Now it's when I go away.
Well, James didn't get his notification. Otherwise, he would have been in here earlier.
Hi, James.
Hey. That's Amanda from the side. You unfortunately missed her. Yeah, exactly. Better watch out, or Will Smith will smack the shit out of you, and then all the anti-woke mob will cheer him on because he stood up for his woman or whatever the hell it was. It was just such a ridiculous controversy, the whole thing, top to bottom.
Hey, guess what? You can stand up for yourself too.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have my back sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, as I was saying, comedians are just so insufferable when it comes to how serious they take their own work and its impact on the world. Like I say, most of the jokes, fart and dick jokes, and the easiest punching down you can imagine. And that's why Chappelle's not funny anymore, because that's all he ever does is punch down and, pontificate about how there was a time in America when you could say whatever you wanted to, and now you can't. Ugh, whatever. It's ridiculous.
We really need to get into the more comedical stances of those Hank Pecker and
Yeah, right. See, and you know, his son tells edgy jokes, and they are funny. Stavros, Stavros Halakaias.
Shotgun in the back and American flags blazing from the tailpipe.
Yeah, right.
Who am I?
Stavros Halakaias. There's an edgy left-wing comedian who tells very edgy jokes, but manages to not really punch down ever. You know, he'll make fun of virtually anybody, but he will always include himself in it. He will always add the humanity portion of it. So it's never just shit on this group of people or this person. So that's ridiculous. And he is somehow he's not been canceled. Somehow he's still up there. Joe Rogan, the most popular comedian in the entire country, just by terms of listenership. Didn't matter when Neil Young said that he was leaving Spotify in protest of him. Doesn't matter that he, you know, continues to platform the most reactionary right-wing chuds imaginable.
I walked down the aisle to Neil Young.
Yeah, Neil Young's a great guy. But Joe Rogan still has a podcast. Still the #1 podcast in the world. Doesn't seem like he got canceled. Imagine that. So where's all this cancellation happening? I would like a list of people that have actually lost, you know, powerful people that have actually lost their careers due to this woke mob that they're always throwing out there. It just doesn't exist. It's a boogeyman because it just masks the fact that the right has no actual ideas of how to help anybody except themselves. So they get hung up on these you know, really petty cultural issues that don't really mean much, because it's something that people can talk about that diverts their attention away from real pain and suffering in the country.
Doing us about it, and they're canceling comedians because they don't like their jokes. I go, well, what do you think he's going to get? I was like, brother, you only get to vote for socialism or communism one time. You only get to vote for it once. Once it gets in, that's it. If you're wondering why it seems like people are pulling back.
That was just out of nowhere. You only get to vote for it one time. It's funny how Cuba has elections still and has a much higher turnout and participation rate than the U.S., but you only get to vote one time. Although they don't have, you know, a two-party system because they actually vote for candidates over party. But yeah, you just only vote for it one time. It's just that, again, vague referencing. We all know what socialism, communism is, and we know to be scared of it because it can only mean one thing. There's no other way to do it. It's only our version of what happened in the Soviet Union and nothing else. But yeah, I mean, if you're already primed to hear that message, I guess, well, what does it matter? Hear it again.
Back and not giving you the full meal deal. There's no Johnny Cash's or Waylon Jennings or those kind of people or Loretta.
You're not those kind of people.
Lynn's. Well, there's a good reason for that, because none of those people would have been allowed to exist today.
That's absolute bullshit. Johnny Cash, I think, put out his last album while he was alive in the late 90s. Completely revered. Has gone down as a legend of country. Has not been canceled. So, like, this is just made up nostalgia. That is masking the fact that because country music has been so taken over by the capitalist profit motive that it has run out of the will to produce new and interesting ideas. You know, I mean, look what the last really big crossover country hit was, that Old Town Road, sung by a gay black rapper at that. That didn't get canceled. That was I mean, talk about controversial. The right would not stop talking about it for months on end. Somehow didn't get canceled, still has a career. It's just ridiculous. There's not those sorts of people because that doesn't sell anymore. And because the music industry is run by people that want to make profit, not people that care about music.
I think there's a juncture that happens, just speaking for myself, being a dad. and weighing out your career choices. If I say these things, it's going to cost me. Okay. Guess what? If it's this bad right now, what's it going to be like when my two boys are in their 20s and 30s and they're walking out into the world? What are they going to be looking at? The only example they're going to have of how to handle that correctly is the old man. America has had such an...
You were the last bastion of anti-wokeness, huh? That's it? There's going to be no more crusaders left against the woke agenda by that point? There won't be, you know, a slew of right-wing cranks that are propped up by millionaires and billionaires that themselves make millions, maybe even billions of dollars by that point, slinging the same kind of vague garbage that you're talking about right now? You're going to be the last guy. This guy really thinks a lot of himself for being from a mid-tier, forgettable country band and writing a few #1 hit songs for other people.
Impact in the world because it gave its people not the right to be happy, the right to pursue happiness, the right to exhaust your potential. The thing I love the most about this country is I wake up every day and I go, as long as I'm still breathing, the game ain't over.
Oh my God. What a utter load of nonsense this entire video was. 3/4 of it, just his backstory. And then just a little bit of vague, well, the woke people are telling them to do wokeness and they have no choice but to do wokeness, so they're taking away all their creativity that they used to have, even though they didn't used to have it, but they used to. And then we got to fight back or else there's going to be no country left to fight for. Ugh. What a boring video.
Hey folks, I hope you really enjoyed...
No, I didn't enjoy it. I did not enjoy it. Their little call to action. PragerU is experiencing severe censorship in big tech platforms. Yeah, this video has 2 million views. They have 3 million subscribers. That's a successful video. It premiered just a couple months ago. Wow. But they're being canceled and censored and all that stuff. I bet there's more people on the left that know about PragerU than people on the right. They're just such an inconsequential little thing, but they are fun to make fun of. Because they use so many words to say so little, and their points are never backed up by more than, well, this is my personal experience. Hey, Kitten Fan 76, thanks for joining us. We're about to wrap up, though. I'm over time. I do apologize to Amanda, but... Do I like Saw Con? I have no idea what that is. But we're about to raid into another channel now. Let's see who is up. Fool. Okay. Saw Con. Is that supposed to be? I have no idea what you're getting at. Fool. Oh, yeah, that's the original one. Are you glad you waited the 10 minutes that I make people wait when they follow the channel just to do that really fresh joke? I sure hope so. I hope that made your night. You can go tell that really cool joke to somebody else. Been here a while. You've been here a while just sitting around waiting to make that joke, huh? You're just like burning a hole in the back of your mind. Like, oh, is this the time? Is this the time to do one of those incredibly fresh D's nuts jokes? Okay. So, how did you think of the stream tonight then? If you waited all that time to do that really cool joke. Let's see now. It was nice. Oh, glad you enjoyed it. That's good. Using the whole sheeple the snatcher uses when he captures in a hat in time. Oh, the whole spiel the snatcher uses when he captures in a hat in time. I have no idea what those words mean. Those are each of them words, I guess. I guess that's how you'd spell spiel. Sure. The Snatcher uses. That joke wasn't really fun, James. Yeah, not enough hot pepperoni rolls in it, I would imagine, for you. If you want to please James, you got to make a pepperoni roll joke.
Pepperoni rolls.
And James, I keep saying that I'll make custom stuff for this channel and include pepperoni rolls in something, and I will. But today is not that day. So I apologize. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Maybe we'll do Jet Extremis tonight. Let's see what he is covering. Mass Effect Funday. Cool. That sounds fun. Let's do Jet Extremis. Thank you all for joining. Tomorrow we're going to be doing more of a people's history of the United States. We're getting into the slavery bit, so it is going to get real dark real fast in terms of carnage and human oppression. It's not going to be a fun one. Yeah, pepperoni rolls are not these nuts jokes. You're correct. Anyway, yeah, more people's history of the United States, getting into the chapter that focuses primarily on U.S. slavery and how it was uniquely atrocious to human beings. So that'll be fun. But at least the version that I found has edited out all of the racial slurs, so you don't need to worry about any of that. Yeah, here we go. Anyway, let's start the raid. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Oh, I gotta get this. I don't want to share any more of that burger, you guys. Let us raid the channel. Here we go. Jet Extremis. Have a good night, everybody. Hope to see you tomorrow night. All right.
You still on?